Hello, everyone, and happy residency. Hopefully, you are enjoying your residency weekend. If you are on day one, welcome. If you are on day two, I hope you enjoyed day one and you got all of your assignments turned in on time. All right. So, if you don't already know who I am Monica Lomax. I am the OPT, CPT, and on campus employment coordinator for SIPJIS and our international students. And I have a video. I'll try to keep it short. It might not be, so beware about just employment, just to have our employment session. Um, so yeah. All right. So let's start off with regulations, right? Um, we have to go by what is legally possible by USCIS, DHS, all of the departments that work together for our F1 international students. So, USCIS guidance on employment is F1 students may not work off campus during the first academic year, but may accept on campus employment subject to certain conditions and restrictions. After the first academic year, F1 students may engage in three types of off campus employment. The first type is curricular practical training, CPT. The second type is OPT, optional practical training, pre completion or post completion. Heads up on that, Avila University does not currently offer pre completion OPT. So that is not an authorization that is available to our students as of today. And then, of course, the last is the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics extension of OPT. All right. F1 students may also be eligible to work off campus on a case by case basis as a result of special situations, such as a severe economic hardship or special student relief. M1 students may engage in practical training only after they have completed their studies. None of you are M, so we don't have to worry about that. For both F1 and M1 students, any off campus training employment must be related to their area of study and must be authorized prior to starting any work by the designated school official, right? Because the designated school official is the person who is authorized to maintain your CVIS records in the CVIS system. All right. And then here's another note. In general, only aliens who have permission from DHS to work can apply for a social security number. And I want to point that out again. The permission comes from DHS to work, right? So the thought behind this is that if a student is on CPT, a student is pursuing an internship. In most internships, you're able to utilize your passport and your visa stamp as a form of ID instead of a social security number. Additionally, another thing you can get is an ITIN number, which also comes from the Social Security office um, to work in an internship or anything like that, right? So take notice of that. And this is also the primary reason why, when we have students out on CPT and they request the social, it may take a bit longer and they will ask for that letter. It's because the expectation is that you only need your social security number or a social security card when you're out on employment and not while you're out on CPT. All right. So the definition of a severe economic hardship, right? A severe economic hardship is, as it states. So if the conversion rate, the currency conversion rate in your home country has been drastically reduced and it affects your sponsor's ability to pay, that's a severe economic hardship. If your sponsor, unfortunately, if something unfortunate happens to your sponsor and it affects their ability to sponsor you, that would be an example of a severe economic hardship. Um, things of that nature. That would be the authorization to work. With the severe economic hardship, you have to provide proof, right? So you have to be able to provide proof, currency conversions, a letter from your sponsor saying, hey, my business went under, or I lost my job, or, something happens to them, otherwise happens to them. You have to provide that proof, and you have to explain. You have to be able to successfully demonstrate that you're having issues, monetarily surviving and providing for yourself in the United States for this severe economic hardship authorization. Also, this is an authorization that you will have to file an I-765 form for, and you will also have to pay all fees associated with this one. All right. Now, the requirements for this severe economic hardship authorization, you will have to be in status for 1 year. You have to be in good standing as a student, and you have to be carrying a full course load, meaning that if you are on academic probation, you will not be eligible for this severe economic hardship. If you are taking a summer break or anything like that to where you're not taking any classes whatsoever, you are not eligible to apply for a severe economic hardship. Um, 3, the student has demonstrated that acceptance of employment will not interfere with the students carrying a full course of study. And this is a big thing because with this authorization, you are eligible to work full time. However, the nature of your visa is to study. So if at any point your employment gets in the way of your grades and gets in the way of you being able to progress academically, this authorization will be removed. All right, and 4, the student has demonstrated that the employment is necessary to avoid severe economic hardship due to unforeseen circumstances beyond the student's control, right? So that's the first thing. The second thing is if there are no on-campus jobs available, and if you are not eligible, or if you are unable to find a part-time CPT job, right? So if those two things are unavailable to you, that's another good. Those two things aren't available to you. You have significant and substantial proof that this is an unforeseen circumstance, and you're keeping your grades up, and you can prove that working a full-time job will not affect your academics or your grades. That will get you the approval that you need. With that also comes the I-765 form, the same thing that you fill out for OPT, paying the $470 for that, and all of those things. So um, that is available. All right. Curricular practical training. An F1 student may be authorized by the DSO to participate in a curricular practical training program that is an integral part of an established curriculum. Okay. Curricular practical training is defined to be alternative work study, internship, cooperative education, or any other type of required internship or practicum that is offered by sponsoring employers through cooperative agreements with the school, right? Bold, underlined, students who have received 1 year or more of full-time curricular practical training are ineligible for post-completion academic training. Meaning, and that's in total. So um, if you come in and you work part-time for one company and then full-time for another company, just as long as that total amount of months does not equal 12 months or 1 year, um, you are good. However, once you get to that 12-month of full-time curricular practical training mark, you will not get OPT. It will not be available to you. All right. Exceptions to the one academic year requirement are provided for graduate students requiring immediate participation in curricular practical training, right? And so this is the terminology or the language that we use, but what our students say is day one CPT, right? So there is an exception in place for our students who qualify to begin their CPT training up to the first day of classes. And that depends on each individual major and each individual program. If you would like a list of those things, then reach out to us and we will, or we'll advise you on whether your major is a part of that. I will say that all of our STEM concentrations are eligible for CPT up to the first day of classes, including our STEM MBA, so our healthcare management and our project management, those two. But if you need any clarity, you are free to email us at intl employment@avila.edu. All right. A request for authorization for curricular practical training must be made to the DSO, meaning you have to request it from me. Heads up, I do not accept CPT authorization requests via email. You must follow the specific rules and specific modalities that are listed in the handbook. A student may begin curricular practical training only after receiving their Form I-20 or successor form with the DSO endorsement. If I have not given you your CPT I-20, you are not eligible to work. All right. To grant authorization for a student to engage in curricular practical training, a DSO will update the student's record in CVIS as being authorized for curricular practical training that is directly related to the student's major area of study. The DSO will indicate whether the training is full-time or part-time, the employer and the location, and the employment start and end date, right? So the student must sign, date, and return the I-20 form to me before they commence employment, right? Now that is a rule that has been updated. So when it's time for the renewal, which is coming up soon, right now it's March, the end of March, but you will need to sign the I-20, the CPT endorsed I-20 and send it back to me. All right. And then again, just to elaborate on what I just went over, it is my responsibility to authorize your CPT, right? Meaning that I am the person who is to be held responsible should the CPT not align with your major, should the CPT be full time when you told me it was part time. I'm the person who is responsible for those things. So there will be a few times or a couple of situations where I personally tell a student no, right? And that's because we are crossing the legal rules. And I prefer to keep our students safe and limit any possible roadblocks from OPT to H-1B, moving forward to H-1B, to doing all of those things. So if you ever get something from me and it says I cannot approve this, it is because this will affect you later on down the line. So it's not personal. Kind of is personal because I want you to succeed, but it's not personal in that it's just you. All right. Optional practical training. Consistent with the application and approval process in the CFR section, the student may apply to USCIS for authorization for temporary employment for optional practical training that is directly related to the student's major area of study. The student may not begin optional practical training until the date indicated on his or her employment authorization document, Form I-66 or the EAD card. A student may be granted authorization to engage in temporary employment for optional practical training, one, during the student's annual vacation and at other times when the school is not in session, if the student is currently enrolled and is eligible for registration and intends to register for the next term or session. This is the definition of pre-completion OPT. and we are not currently offering that. However, that is it's on there, so I'm going to say it. Or two, while school is in session, provided that practical training does not exceed 20 hours a week while school is in session. Also, again, pre-completion. And then three is after completion of the course of study, or for students in a bachelor's, master's, or doctoral degree program, completion of all the course requirements for that degree, excluding a thesis or equivalent, right? So, that is what we offer. That is the definition of post completion OPT, and that is what we work with, that bottom one. All right. And then here is the 24-month extension of post completion OPT, the STEM extension, science, technology, engineering, or mathematics. So a qualified student may apply for the extension of OPT while in a valid period of post completion OPT that has been already authorized. The extension will be for 24 months for the first qualifying degree for which the student has completed all course requirements, excluding the thesis or equivalent, including any qualifying degree as part of a dual degree program, subject to the requirements about previously authorized degrees being conferred, and they must be conferred. Okay. If a student completes all such course requirements for another qualifying degree at a higher degree level than the first, the student may apply for a second 24-month extension of OPT while in the valid period of post completion OPT authorized under the regulation. In no event may a student be authorized for more than 2 lifetime STEM OPT extensions, right? All right, so here is the deal with that. If you have received the STEM OPT extension in your bachelor's, your undergraduate program, that's fine. If you got a master's degree in a STEM OPT extension from a previous school and you utilize that full time, when you graduate this time, which will be your second master's degree, you will not get the STEM OPT extension. You will get the standard 1 year OPT. You can only get that extension twice, and that's out of the lifetime of you being a student. It's not per level, it's not per degree. So, let's be aware of that. If this is your second master's and you've already used OPT and you got OPT during your bachelor's, you will not get that STEM extension. You will get the standard 12 months. All right. A student who was granted a 17-month OPT extension under that specific rule, um, you're only eligible for one more extension. Right? So even if you apply for the if you apply for the 17-month extension, then that's going to be counted as the 24. So it is important that we submit our applications in a timely manner and that our timing is right. Because if you are 2 or 3 months late in applying for the extension, then you'll get a reduced extension and then you won't get any more. So we want to be careful with our timelines. All right. And important information regarding all employment authorizations. It doesn't matter if this is on campus, severe economic hardship, OPT, CPT, whatever. Just be mindful of all of these things. The first thing is students must complete at least 1 year of study to qualify for an employment authorization unless an internship is explicitly listed as an integral part of their program curriculum, right? So if it is not listed as an integral part of your curriculum and you have not completed 1 year of studies, I cannot approve your CPT request. All right. Curricular practical training should not be used as a loophole for employment. And what I mean by it should not be used as a loophole for employment is if you were previously working full time at a company and decided to join Avila University and you got the CPT authorization for a company that you have been working at already, that would be considered a loophole. That would be what that looks like is it looks like you joined college to get a degree because you didn't want to lose your job, right? That would be considered using a loophole. If you say you're or our status change students, say you were a nurse or you were a veterinarian or you had this full-time position somewhere and you wanted to change your status so that you can remain in the United States to F1 and you kept that position, that is considered to be a loophole, right? Now, if this is your case and if this is something that you have done, then be prepared for an RFI, a request for information come OPT time. And again, I cannot guarantee that USCIS will approve or deny any student. It is up to them, right? So we cannot be using CPT as a way to maintain previous employment, right? It's supposed to be used as a tool or that extra training, that one-on-one training while you're studying in a very specific field. It's not to be used, school in general, the F1 visa is not to be used just to continue to work a job. All right. CPT is not intended for full-time employment. There are so many, well, the biggest stipulation on CPT is that you cannot work over 12 months full time, right? That is because the F1 visa is intended for you to study, and CPT is a training that is intended to be an internship, right? So when it lingers into the full-time job status, then it will again give the appearance of a loophole. So be mindful of that. I always suggest that our students work part-time until graduation because that OPT endorsement and that STEM extension for that OPT, that is the greatest benefit for our students because not only does that open you up to a new company, but that also gives you an opportunity to see about who is sponsoring H-1Bs, where you can get in to work through and, build yourself up in a company to get that H-1B sponsorship and things like that. So I will always push OPT over CPT, and you want to be careful with CPT. All right. 4, Avila University does not currently offer pre-completion OPT. We don't. 5, students who have already utilized OPT in any extensions for the same degree level will not be eligible for OPT upon graduation or program completion. So if you received a degree in computer science and you got that 24-month STEM extension and you transferred to us and stayed in computer science, you will not get another STEM extension. Um, you won't even get the original OP. You will not get the 12-month or the extension. So be mindful of that. If your degree was similar, so say you were cybersecurity and you switch to computer science, even that's a little iffy. So you want to be careful about, you want to pay attention to your major, if you transferred, what you transferred from, and things of that nature, because that is one reason for your OPT to be denied. All right. 6, students who have transferred to Avila University and complete their program requirements in less than 1 year or 12 months are not eligible for OPT or any subsequent extensions. And that's a big one. If you transfer your credits over to Avila University and you only have 2 terms or 16 total weeks to graduate, you're not getting OPT. You won't get the endorsement. You have to study over a year, over 12 months in order to get that OPT extension for your major at Avila University. All right. 7, all students are subject to SEVP file audits to ensure compliance with F1 visa regulations, right? And this is not to scare anyone, but yes, every single student file is subject to be reviewed, right? And when this review happens, it is not just them looking at the DSO or asking the DSO questions, right? They are going to look at every single thing that you received that is trackable, right? So that I-94 arrival and departure record is being tracked. They can pull up your full travel record. If you use your passport, your visa stamp, anything that you use that for, that's being tracked, and it can be monitored, and it can be used to do an audit. Any actions involving a social security card are monitored, right? So if you, for instance, if you're working and you use your social security number to get that card, yeah, to get that job, you're being tracked with that. All employers are required to file taxes, and you are a part of that as an employee, right? So you want to make sure that you're being careful with the items that you are doing with your social security number. Um, and then 12, oh yeah, social security card, all of those things. All right. And then also, CPT employment is attended for internships, and students who utilize CPT may be subject to an RFE or an RFI, request for evidence, request for information, when applying for any additional benefit, right? So if for instance you were doing full-time CPT employment, you cut off the CPT employment at month 11, so you can get the OPT and the STEM, right? Even if you did it that way, you still might get a RFI, right? So there's no way for a DSO or for Avila University as a whole to indicate who's going to get a request for evidence or a request for information. There's no way for Avila University or any staff to know who is getting ready to be audited, or what any governmental agency found or discrepancies they found within your immigration documentation or anything like that, right? So it's important for all of you guys to keep your paperwork in order and follow the rules. Because when it gets to this level, when it gets to well, the OPT specifically, but when it comes to like the end, for instance, right? So I do the OPT program for our students. So I'm the person who follows all students at the point from graduation until that H-1B is received, right? I'm the person that you deal with for the next 3 to 4 years after graduation, right? So if you my advice for all students is to make sure that you are keeping yourself together, because every single thing that you do employment wise, travel wise, anything will be subject to RFEs, RFIs, from OPT standpoint to even filing the H-1B application. So please be careful in your actions of those things. And that was all that I have. I hope everybody enjoyed this video. I'm sorry to terrify everyone, but I will say this. I am more concerned about seeing you reach your goals in the end than anything else, right? So, in the event that I don't approve your CPT, even in some events where you sent me a CPT request form 2, 3 days ago, and I've not sent you the CPT I-20, in all of those actions, I need every student to understand that everything that I do is to protect your end game, right? Whether that end game be getting your OPT, your extension, and going back home, or whether that end game be getting your OPT, getting that extension, and then getting the H-1B. Whatever that may be, that is what I'm more concerned about. So I understand it might be frustrating for some students now, but when you get your OPT and you get that H-1B, you can't be too mad at me anymore. All right. And here are our links, right? So I don't know how this presents. We have a link for our CPT handbook. That link may or may not be updated for the next residency. So you're going to want to make sure that you're keeping that link, and then when we get to the employment session of your residency, you make sure that you get that updated link. We have a OPT videos. I have a YouTube channel, Monica Lomax. It's dedicated to our international students and your employment, all of those things. That is the link to the playlist for all OPT videos and forms. There are not many things that a student could request that we do not have a form for. Social security number, letter request, no social security letter request, invitation to graduation, address change, uploading your I-94 to keep your records updated, CPT, OPT. There are so many things that or standard verifications. Everything can be found at that form request link, and I ask that all students utilize that first. Um, because a lot of the things that you need really are handled by a form. All right. And that was all I had. I hope you guys enjoyed the rest of your day. And that's it. All right. Bye.